this more nebulous thing of like
temperatures could increase,
extreme weather outcomes.
Extreme weather outcomes.
The hurricanes are worse and
exactly.
worse, and it's like, well, when you know that they can modify such things,
they can
how do we not know
amplify.
that the problem isn't actually the state? They are blaming us for things that they actually have the power to create. Okay, and if you just think we're totally out to lunch, talking like this, I'm just gonna go ahead and play the clip. So.
Oh yeah.
And now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion,
No.
though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really, to change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War.
Okay. Whoa, sorry for the feedback, folks. Still working on the audio engineering here, but what a clip, right?
Yeah.
Inconclusive, Xavier. She said, I remember reading they did that, in Chernobyl to make it rain. And
Wait, Chernobyl was in the
80s.
Okay, that was almost 40 years ago. Yeah, and then we used it in Vietnam. And
look how cavalierly Michio Kaku says, trillion-watt laser beams, just separate.
What's the Arthur Conan Doyle quote? Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So he has this big theoretical blanket that he puts over it to make him seem like this amazing authority. But ultimately, they're just really tinkering with the substrate of reality with these crazy fortified weapons, essentially. And lasers aren't what you think. I mean, the graphic that they put up there is kind of misleading, where it's this beam,
little black box,
right? It's just like this, the most powerful lasers, the trillion-watt lasers, that they're invisible. Like, you can't see the laser, and that's what makes it so.
So if this was like
dangerous,
if this was like a balloon-mounted laser with advanced targeting, and they wanted to zap a political dissident somewhere. I mean, it's only a matter of infrastructure, right?
Right, and political justifications, I guess, because, geoengineering techniques and instrumentation is used daily at this point. But there's all these treaties about, you can't use it for X, and you can't use it for Y, and you can't use it for Z. So, they do have the same sort of conventions around lasers in warfare. And, we can't do it here, and we can't do it there, but yeah, we have it. And we could very easily implement it and just call it something else to the public.
It's just a matter of prioritization and the the political risk of any sort of operation. Getting the stooges to operate the technology and to leverage it for evil, essentially. Talking about these trillion-watt lasers. What does a trillion-watt laser, what does a trillion-watt radio tower look like?
Wow.
You've got HARP. That's what is, publicly acknowledged.
Right.
Okay, you think about how much land is available that none of us. I mean, do you
Right.
think Google Earth gives you an actual, surface level depiction of what's out there across
way.
the world? You think
No
they're
way.
going to allow classified areas? Okay, classified areas are still known by government employees, okay, that have access. And then with Epstein, going back to this is really distracting from.
Right.
You got a guy who just one guy owns an island and is building underground basements, etc.
Yep.
You look at some of the mansions and stuff, the capabilities of these billionaires, this aristocratic breakaway civilization. I mean, who the hell knows what kind of underground cities and other things. And so while they're, catastrophizing a surface level, extinction level event, I mean, they're both potentially perpetrating that with their childish experimentation with advanced technologies.
Right.
While they're the ones taking our wealth to actually build such, housings that could withstand their own weaponry that they're playing with, versus some potential, like the ice caps melting and maybe flooding some coastal cities. Like, we don't all live on the coast anyways.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you still have all these developments going up. Like, if this is really such a pressing thing and the richest people are funding these developments, why don't they pull the funding from all these new projects on the coast? Is it really that short-sighted, or do the money manipulators really know what this whole green scare is all about, which is
Right.
basically whipping up more money so they can, inflate
Go to the
real
next
estate.
level.
Exactly.
Whatever that is.
Go to the next threshold of what they can try to get away with.
Yeah. Well, I have another good clip, and we're sort of driving towards, what the final solution is, right? Clearly Greta's not criticizing the right people, or she'd
Right.
be talking about the politicians who are actually, like we've been talking about, experimenting with these crazy weapons, manipulating, playing God.
Yep.
And meanwhile making, serious ecological destruction.
Definitely.
They've admitted that they can steer hurricanes.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it is experimental. So
But it works in a lab.
Well, what is the lab to them?
The lab is
that's where
the
they get
world.
satanically
Right.
semantic, and they
Right.
would be like, "Oh, well, our laboratory is going to be Southern Texas today." That's how they
Right.
see it, because they are above their property, according to FDA Section 201G1, which specifies a drug is any article intended to change the structure of man or other animal. And what that says is everything. It says that you are an animal to them,
Right.
because it's other animal.
And that's why, the aerosols that they spray, barium and all these oxides, that is them basically saying in mass, oh, this is medicine for y'all. It's basically pesticides.
Right.
Y'all are pests to us.
Right.
So that in itself shows you the real core of the thinking.
Before we started recording, you were talking about a meme you saw on Instagram that was about Epstein that we couldn't find. But there was another
classic.
meme that I could pull up. It was, I'm sure Owen Benjamin took it from someone else, but it was the periodic table elements, barium and aluminum, put next to each other as ball.
Uh-huh.
And
those
the
are
implication-
those are the major oxides. Yeah.
And he was correctly, I think, pointing out, that this is essentially black magic, in a sense.
Sure.
Their alchemy. With what they want to transform us, they want to degrade us, they want to kill us.
That's right.
It's a hard task they have, to get us to kill ourselves, because I think maybe they have to follow the principle that they have to get us to turn our free will against ourselves. And by getting us to sort of